Hello and welcome back. Thank you very much for liking and subscribing and commenting on all my videos. It's really great and I really appreciate it. So today we're going to be talking about drive shafts and everything you need to know about drive shafts for a Land Rover Series truck, and probably more information than you really need to know. So stick around and watch the whole video. I think you're gonna see a few things that I learned along the way, because I'm new to all this as well. So the first thing we're gonna do is, when you take apart your drive shaft, let's make sure we put it all back together the right way. So we're gonna go right into that. Thank you very much. Sketch I drew, because I want to put them together in the same way. So what I did is, for like the front piece here, I got a red zip tie. Got a yellow zip tie, a blue zip tie, and a black zip tie. So let's go over here. There's the yellow zip tie right here. So that means this part of the drive shaft here matches up with this one here with the yellow zip tie. This one has a blue one, so it matches up with this blue one. So when I put the U-joints in, these two go together, these two go together. And then the red end, there's a red one right here. So that means it goes onto the front one on this end. See the red one? And the black one with the black one. So then I know how they go together. So my sketch I have over here, that once I take these apart, once I take the zip ties off and put the U-joints on, I won't ever longer have the tags there anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay them out on the bench the way they're supposed to be and mark them with a paint pen. So I'll go grab a paint pen, be right back. Okay, so here's the front drive shaft. So I have the yellow tag on this side, and my sketch has a yellow on this side, and there's the grease fitting. There's the grease fitting. And then you come down here, red's on this side. And I sketched, I have red over here. So this is the red front, and it's all put together. And I grabbed a pink one because, hey, what the heck? I'm comfortable in my manhood that I can use pink. So I don't think the missus is going to worry about that. I'm using the pink one. So I put a pink plus here, a pink plus here. So plus and plus. So then I know when these two things are apart and I'm putting in the U-joints over a friend's house, I'm going to head over there tomorrow, I'll leave these apart like this. Then I can press this in real nice and easy. And then when I put it together, I can put it right back to where it belongs at the plus and the plus. But if you could see originally, it's kind of indented. That's actually a line. There's an arrow pointing. There should be one over here somewhere, but I can't find it because the rust is pretty bad. There should be an arrow somewhere pointing that these two go together in the same way, same direction. And also, if you do accidentally take them apart, you go to put them back together, make sure that these are both level with each other. Right in line with each other, not at 90 degrees or anything like that. So that's a little tip for you there. Okay, so I'm going to go put these two together, the longer one, the rear one, and mark that one next. Okay, so I went over to a friend's house and I got all the U-joints pressed in, which you can do it yourself. You're supposed to be able to, either some guys have hammered them in or used vices to put them in, like large vices, workbench vices. But I figure since I know somebody and I can just go over to his house and hang out and get a nice, press those right in there. So they went in there real easy, no problem whatsoever or whatever. So whenever I was trying to find U-joints and information on everything, as I okay, so we'll start. Well, since we're talking about the U-joints, we'll talk about those. So I was talking to a friend of mine that knows Land Rovers, and these drive shafts are actually, they're called Hardy Spicer. I'm going to put a picture up on the screen of, it's actually stamped inside of here. I'll put a picture up on the screen. I should have took the picture before I put the U-joints on, but I didn't realize I could have took a nice picture of it. So anyways, so what it is, they're actually called a Hardy Spicer are the people who made the drive shafts for Land Rover Series trucks. So Spicer, and they're also known as Dana Spicers. So those are, if you type in Spicer and U-joints or Spicer and drive shaft parts, you'll find a couple of websites that sell this stuff, but I ended up buying some different parts from, it was called Denny's Driveshafts. It's actually here in America, so it was very easy. So if we talk about the U-joints, so U-joints, this is the one I bought from the UK, from Paddock Spares. It was GKN Spicer U-joint, and there's the part number there. And I'll take a picture of this and put it up on the screen so you get a better shot. So when you go to order them, the cap, which is this right here, the cap diameter, which you'll need to confirm also when you go to purchase U-joints, if you're a newbie like myself. So I measured them, and it's 27 millimeters, and it equals 1 inch, 1.062 inches. Okay, so the width of it. So if you measure from this surface here to this surface right here, I measured the width of it, and then I subtracted this distance from here to here with a set of calipers. So the width of the U-joint was 82 millimeters, and in inches is 3.228 inches. So I went on to Paddock Spares and I ordered the GKNs, which are, it's a good brand. It's actually GKN, in the history of it was actually they were purchased, or they were somehow connected to Spicer and then Dana Spicer. So those two names and GKN, or somehow they own them or something. So there's the part number there, but I had it written down on the board there. So I ordered the Spicer from the UK with that cap and with that width, which is good or whatever. So as I was working on, allow me to interrupt myself as I'm talking to myself. One other thing about the U-joints, I forgot to write it on the paper, is it's a Dana Spicer, and there's the part numbers there, but it's really a 1310 series U-joint is what this is here. And it was used on Ford and GM and many other different models in cars, Isuzu, a lot of cars use these U-joints. So it's just some kind of a universal U-joint that can be used for many different cars. So as I'm here, also the size actually measures out. This is 82 millimeters. It converts to English in that size, but these caps are actually 3.219 inches in width. So here it is here, and I'll let you take a look at it there. Take a screenshot of that and remember it for all the pieces and parts and sizes. Alrighty, now back to me babbling on about drive shafts. Bye-bye. The drive shaft itself. When you have your two pieces here, you have a slip joint, which is right here, that slips back and forth, and that goes on to the end of it. So what you have is there's a cork, a seal that rides on here, and a spacer piece that goes onto here, like a filler, then a cap that goes on. So I was researching on Guns N' Rovers, and also another fella told me about that. The information is that you can buy those brand new. So I looked it up. It was Spicer, and he gave me the tip or whatever that it was a dust cap D2C is the cap size or whatever. So you type in Spicer dust cap D2C and you'll find it right on the internet there in America or wherever you're at. So it comes with a new one of these that threads onto this piece, threads onto here. Comes with a new cork seal that rides in there, and also a new spacer one. So all the pieces and parts that I found, I was able to find them. I could have actually found them in America if I would have known more about the U-joints and everything. And also, while I ordered, I also got a new rubber cap too, to keep the grease, the dirt and everything out of it. And I also ordered some new bolts, which they were pretty cheap too. They come with new bolts. To order these, I bought these from Paddock Spares as well. So new bolts and nuts, has nylon lock nuts on there. So, all right, so here's the pieces and parts. Now let's put them together. Let me go find some grease. Here's a screwdriver and some grease. I'm going to take some grease, put them down inside, kind of spread it around in there for the slip joint. Don't need a whole lot in there. It's just enough so it gets some in there. And take some of it, put it on the splines here. Put that down. And I also put some grease down here because this is where the seal's going to ride. Okay, so the first thing you put on, let me clean up here. Well, that's just a mess, isn't it? I'll stick that over here. I'll wipe that all down later. All right, so first thing you want to do is you take your cap. You want to slide the cap over top of here so it goes on. Then, well, it doesn't matter which one you put on next, but this is the cork thing is actually split, so you can put it on. Goes on. And then you got this spacer washer thing. It's also split, so then you can slide that on. So you have your new cork, you have your spacer or in between piece, then you got your screw on cap here. You take those, move them out of the way. Then you look at your marks that I put on earlier with the other mark as well. You just kind of line them up. This is when it gets all of the grease once it starts squirting out of it. Take it and kind of wipe the grease away. I kind of put the grease I took off of this part here, and I'm going to put it on the threads just so to keep some grease on there to help it a little bit easier to get on the cap. So you take the cork, push it up into there. As you slide it up, okay, so kind of push it up on. You kind of get the thread started. And it's a real fine thread, so it takes a lot of turns to get it up in there. Okay, let me get pliers. I'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. All right, also, don't forget to put your rubber boot on as well. that goes on there before you start putting it together, because then you can't take them apart. So if you look there, there it is there. Whoops, there you go. Now it's on there. So what I did is I just held the rubber seal down and I tightened this up with a pair of pliers, pair of channel locks, because there's no threads on it or nothing. There's no, you know, any way to tighten it. So I just tightened it and tightened it down till it's snugged up pretty tight. So then, and there it is. That's located there. So that's on. So the next thing is you would just take the sleeve and kind of move it around to get you some, so you get movement back and forth in there. And then clamp your rubber boot down. The rubber boot comes with clamps. And there's BritPart part number there. 276484. And also I found out whenever you're on the websites looking at Spicer parts, they actually sell a boot, but the boot is different. The boot will clamp onto this part of the drive shaft, will clamp here and then clamp onto this part here. Not up on the body like in the Land Rover ones. They come up and they clamp up here and here. On the other ones, the Spicer, the American ones, they mount here and then they squeeze down on the bottom here down at this part. So that's something to look into too if you're in America looking for parts. So that's on there. So our drive shaft's now together. Oh, one other thing too, these grease fittings here and here, no, this grease fitting here and also the one on the other drive shaft, they're just standard grease fittings. And a friend I went over and got the U-joint and pressed it in. He had just a box from Harbor Freight of American size, or what am I trying to say? Grease fittings, just generic ones from Harbor Freight, and they fit in there. They screwed in there perfectly. And also, speaking of grease fittings, the U-joints all come with grease fittings as well. So don't forget to grease all your U-joints before installing it on both ends, or whenever it's installed, whatever you feel like. So let's get underneath the truck and we'll install this. So we're down here underneath the truck. We got the front drive shaft on, got the new hardware with the bolts facing this way. That's the only way they go in. And it comes up to here. Got it attached to the transfer case up to the front, or up here. So the drive shaft's in there, and I just put the transfer case in neutral, and then they can spin it right around and tighten the bolts as you go, which is pretty easy. You can do it on both ends. So one other tool, which is pretty nice to have, you might be able to pick it up. I think I picked this up on eBay for about $8 or so, or $10. And it's a 9/16 wrench, socket wrench. So you can fit it into this small area. I bought it years ago for my Land Rover Discovery that I had for when I was doing the drive shaft. So it's a nifty little tool. It's a 9/16 socket, and it's impact also. Impact, so you see how it fits inside there? So you got lots of room to get around and tighten it up real easy with this, instead of going with a wrench and just doing little turns here. So the front drive shaft's on. Let's roll back and check out the rear. Okay, got the rear drive shaft on here. And this one, I don't know why, but Land Rover didn't put on a rubber boot for the rear ones, but it uses the exact same cap as the front. The cap, the D2C for Spicer. Same U-joints as well, same as the front. They all have the same. So it goes through the chassis. It comes down to back there. New bolts, put back here, new bolts and nuts for the rear one. So that's on there. The rear one's good. The front one, the front bolts, I put new nuts on here, but I reused the bolts that were inside of the, onto the drive shaft, or the output shaft, or output flange, I'm sorry. So I reused those bolts, but I put fresh nuts on there, new nylon lock nuts. So the next step is I'm going to grease these all up, which I should have did before I installed them, but you know, sometimes you get too excited. So I'm going to grease up the U-joints, put a little grease into here, into the fittings, and also this rear fitting, like I mentioned about the front ones. This is just your generic, run-of-the-mill, American size grease fitting here as well. And the U-joints all have grease fittings as well. So, I think we're about done with the drive shafts, front and rear. They're all done. So I have to say, thank you guys for watching, liking, subscribing, commenting, and everything. I always appreciate it. And the Land Rover's coming together quite nicely, all the different pieces and parts. So thank you very much. This is going to be the end of the video. And I'll see you on the next one. And have a good one. Bye-bye.